Okay, so today we're going to be looking at BSBWOR501B, Manage Personal Work Priorities and Professional Development. We're particularly going to spend this time looking at Develop and Maintain Professional Competence, which is section 3 of the learning. Okay, this session we'll be covering areas such as competencies, what they are, what is feedback and how you collect feedback, touching on your learning styles, networking, and competitive edge. You'll also see from this slide that if you work on your assessment, this is going to help you answer a lot of questions in your assessment, particularly questions 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, plus written oral questions 3, 4, 6, and 8. So it's well worth the watching. Okay, let's deal with competencies. If we're talking about personal professional development, one of the first areas we want to talk about is how you develop and maintain your professional competencies. But let's just remember what a competency is. Competency standards are the standards that relate to specific performance. You can use these to assess your training needs and to evaluate your performance in terms of the job you're doing. Now, competency standards can be produced by industry groups, government bodies, unions, training institutions. Identify competencies. What you're doing right now is a competency standard. There's a standard you have to achieve to qualify for the diploma. So, competency standards operate across a wide variety of businesses. Essentially, the question is simple. How do you know you've done a good job? Whether it's serving a customer or manufacturing an item, or if you're a plumber and you're going to unblock a toilet, how do you know you've done a good job? What's the standard for that job? Often these standards are reflected in your job description. So I already said, with competency standards, they can be laid down internationally, nationally, or at company level, or maybe just within the business you work for, and they can include standards of quality of the product or quality of service. They can relate to safety issues, operational issues, environmental standards. Like I said, effectively, standards enable you to assess whether you have done a job well. So if you're operating in your role against various competency standards, you don't need your boss to say to you, job well done. You can reflect on the standard expected of you within your job and say, I have done my job well against these standards. Think for a second about the technical or managerial or personal skills you need to do the job you're doing right now. You know, if you work in a customer service environment, how important are your communication skills? How important is it you're able to negotiate in that role? You know, if you're in an accounting role, how important are your numeracy skills in that role? Very often, improving your personal skills can enhance the way you demonstrate your wider competencies. More particularly, it can help you improve your job performance and therefore your position at work. For example, presentational time management skills can substantially raise your overall performance and confidence. So improving your presentation and time management skills will improve your performance at work. Makes sense? So why is professional development so important? I think we've covered a fair few points already. But keep in mind, as it says in the slide, professional development helps you to maintain a competitive edge. Managers continually assess skills against the expectations of their position and future positions. You should be seeking feedback from your colleagues and supervisors and team members and clients and suppliers even to get feedback on your performance. The business world, the world, is forever changing. So individuals need to change and learn new skills and gain new skills to maintain the competence at work. Networking, formally, informally, helps provide opportunities to develop and grow your knowledge too. Essentially, you're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotten. If you're green and growing, you develop your skills in your job, you get promoted, you get pay rises, you get developed. If you're ripe and rotten, you get left behind, overlooked for promotion, and possibly even let go. Bit of help there for question 3 in the written oral and question 8 in the written oral. If you want to develop your job competencies, you need to review your job description, establish your competencies, identify the standards and how well you do them. And as a result of that, you can set a learning plan. You know, assessing your job competency is about looking at yourself, the tasks you need to undertake within that role, and the skills and knowledge you need to apply. For example, in an accounts role, inputting invoices, you need to understand the principles of accounting, plus how to use the software and the standards on the formats expected in that company. Now, this planned focus approach will help you to realize your potential. And the best place to begin is by looking at your current skills and knowledge and assess them against the standards or competencies required in your job. And once you know what they are and how well you do them, set yourself a learning plan to get yourself up to date. Bit of help there for question 8 in the written oral, activity 7. If you're regularly reviewing your skills and development needs and you select the appropriate learning and development activities, then you can develop your skills. There's all kinds of activities you can be looking at. Coaching, mentoring with somebody at work, obviously in-house training courses. There's courses run by professional industry bodies that you may belong to. There's magazines you can read for the industry you're part of. There's networking you can take part in, and we'll cover that more again later. There's trade shows and conferences you can attend to develop your knowledge base. Obviously, you can undertake personal study or do external courses like TAFE or this course. And you can do job rotation where you swap jobs with people so you can learn more about their jobs. So there's lots of different opportunities available to you to learn and develop yourself in the workplace. I'm going to talk quick about action learning because it's a question in your assessment, question 4 in the written oral. So an action learning set is based on the idea there's no learning without action. Action learning uses the actual task as the lesson. Employees who need to learn how to give a sales presentation would learn by actually giving a sales presentation. The learners reflect upon the learning experience of giving that sales presentation, and action learning allows that learner to put the learning into practice. An action learning set is a group of 4 to 8 people who meet regularly to help each other to learn from their experiences. And sets often have an advisor or facilitator to help that the members maintain focus on that learning. So one of the group might bring along the point they want to give a sales presentation, and the group can identify the possible actions which could be taken to solve the problem. I had a presentation, their own experiences, and then of course what's needed to deliver a successful presentation. So, action learning. Drawing up a career plan will help you identify the various paths or pathways open to you to help you develop yourself. You always have some transferable knowledge and skills in addition to new ones you may require, and you need to make sure you know what these are. So you've got to start by knowing your value. Now, learn about yourself. What are your skills and competencies? Now, if you're going to do this, get honest with yourself. There's no sense fluffing your own pillow, so to speak. You need to know how good you are at the various competencies and skills and how good your knowledge base is. Identify your skills. And then, of course, research your career options based on the skills you've got, because the question will be not so much what you already know, what you need to know to make that move in your career. Link your major and your career goals. And think of it in terms of a cycle, because if you're going to develop, you're going to be green and growing, then you're forever going to be looking and examining your skill sets and developing them and growing those skill sets. We should talk briefly about SMART goals. Remember, SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And if you're going to be setting goals for yourself in terms of your personal development, you need to make sure that you make these goals SMART. My example for you, I want to be slim. Well, you want to be slim may be a goal, but it's hardly a SMART goal. It's hardly specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, or time-bound. Okay? What do you want to weigh? What do you weigh right now is a good question. Is slim going to be 5 kilos lighter, 10 kilos later? How long will losing this weight take? And how are you going to lose this weight? What's the plan? When you reflect those points back into a SMART goal, and you've got a goal that says, I want to be slim by losing 5 kilos by December 31st, 2014, using a low-calorie diet, you've now got a much smarter goal to work with because you can measure it. Remember, if you can't measure it, you don't know how far you've come. You don't know where you've started from. You don't know where you're going to end up unless you've got measurement tools in place. And SMART goals are a way of making it measurable. And also, of course, holding yourself accountable. I'm hitting on this question a few times because as part of your own personal development plan, it's the most important question you're going to ask yourself. Where are you now? What are your skills, your knowledge, and competencies right now? Honestly, truthfully, no ego in play. If you're lying to yourself, there's no benefit at all. But I appreciate honest self-evaluation can be hard. And that's why we often need to collect feedback from a variety of sources to help us self-evaluate. And again, this can be confronting. You can collect feedback from all kinds of places. You've got the formal and informal performance appraisals that take place in the workplace, whether it be those official ones with your supervisor or unofficial meetings with your manager and supervisors. Often, don't discount suppliers. These are people you interact with all the time, and they give you feedback on your performance on how they see you doing your job. Not forgetting, of course, customers. I've put internal and external there because consider, not everyone deals with the customer at the sharp end of the game, customer at the counter. If you're in the accounts department, your customer could be the suppliers, could be the different departments you work with. If you're in payroll, your customers are the people whose pay you're processing, not necessarily the customers that they're interacting with. Okay, and of course the external customer is fairly easy to identify. Personal reflection, just thinking about how well you think you've done a job or role is good feedback. Let's not forget data. You've got sales data, you've got customer contact data, you've got surveys, you've got manufacturing data of how many items made in the hour. You've got observation you can look at. You literally have got the end product. If you're involved in a business that manufactures products, then the end product is a reflection of your ability to do the job, as are the number of defects or wastage that occurs in the work you're doing. All this provides you feedback on how well you may or may not be performing in the workplace. When thinking about feedback, make sure it's useful. That means asking specific questions, and you want to talk about competencies and results, not personality. So don't go starting up to people and saying, "Oh, do you like me?" That's not going to help. Okay, focusing on the problem. And if you're giving feedback, make sure you give it at the time, not 6 months later or a week later, and be specific and clear what you're giving them feedback on. I like the way you did that. that was a good job, well done. You know, feedback needs to be private in an appropriate location. So maybe not when you're in the toilet. And private is important because if feedback's going to be effective, you don't want to embarrass people in front of their colleagues. Always try and get your feedback in that positive ballpark and give it regularly. But the feedback you can collect from people is going to help you develop yourself. Find ways to improve your competency in the tasks that you do. Once you know what your competencies are, of course, you want to look at your learning style. And activity 9 that you're undertaking in the assessment is a whole big quiz on your learning style. Good news here, guys, there's no right or wrong answer. And you may not agree 100% with what you read once you've completed the quiz, but it's an interesting exercise. The exercise you're doing is based on the Honey and Mumford learning styles, which was used to indicate the learning styles that as they perceived them. They saw 4 learning styles. They saw the activist, okay, somebody who prefers doing and experiencing things. They saw the reflector, somebody who likes to think, sit back a bit, think about it, reflect on the opportunities. They saw the theorist. These people really want to understand. They want to get the real nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty, okay? And of course, they talked about the pragmatist, the have a go kind of individual. Now, it's likely when you complete the quiz, you're going to see a mixture. You won't just be an activist, or you might be an activist reflector or a theorist reflector. It's unlikely to have all 4 at the same level, score the same level, but 1 or 2 of these might come up the same, which means that you're not one or the other. And remember, these are learning styles, they're preferences, which means it's great to know how you like to learn, but not written in stone. On top of this, of course, we're all strongly either visual, people who like to see it, auditory, people who prefer to hear it, or kinesthetic, people who like to do it. Okay, you know lots of people who are very visual in their learning style. They want to watch. The more they watch, the better they learn. Whereas some people find all that imagery distracting and prefer just to listen. They close their eyes and they just listen, and they like the audio books, that kind of thing. And of course, we all know the kinesthetic, the doers, the go-getters, the people who just want to have a go. They don't want to listen, they don't want to watch, they want to do it, they want to get their hands dirty. Okay, written rules question 6, some good answers there for that. And activity 9 question 2, some help there for you as well. So networking is about mutual gain and it's long term. It takes time to develop a two-way dialogue and truly understand the needs of others, and so results do not happen overnight. Essentially, networking is about giving, 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 so you may get. But they're great places to be involved in to get information on aspects of your business. You'll find out, if you're networking, you're going to find about business and market trends, changing your business environment, technological advances, new professional standards, legislation, legal requirements, information about competitive activities, changing customers' expectations, things happening in the environment, socio-political, things happening politically, the legislation, and of course global stuff, events happening globally. All this is going to come out of your networking, whether you're sharing it with people because you know it, or if the people that you meet within your network groups are sharing it with you. You can network internally, that's within the organisation you work. Networking, which means socialising, spending time talking to your colleagues, and that's going to raise your profile and obviously give you information on what's required in your workplace. Okay, networking externally, we're going to exchange best practice and knowledge, learn new methods, maybe get solutions to problems, about benchmarking your performance. Lots of information we exchange within networking groups. In a nutshell, a competitive edge is holding an advantage of some sort over your competitors? Maybe these questions can help you think about your competitive edge in terms of your business. What are you providing and to who? Who else is trying to do the same thing? And what are their strengths and weaknesses? What are their strategies? How do they do it? What are their goals? What makes that competitor stand out? And then, of course, the big golden nugget question: how can you do it better? Could help there for activity 11 in your assessments. There are threats to anyone's competitive edge, to every business, and these threats don't just exist for you, they exist for the people you're competing with. You know, technology is forever evolving and changing. Now, can your business keep up with that technology change? You know, the iPhone gets updated every 6 months. Economic trends, both globally and obviously nationally, can have an impact. And the money in people's pocket impacts on their ability to buy your product or service. And the global impact, obviously, worldwide global GFC had a major impact with every country across the world. What happens in China affects our economy. No, fuel and oil prices are affected by events outside of Australia. You've got the environmental impact. We're not just talking here about global warming. We're talking about major issues like bad weather, cyclones, those sort of things. They can have an impact on your business. And governments are always creating new legislation. New legislation might improve your business performance. It may hinder your business performance if there's more compliance, if you're required to do more health and safety in order to perform the job properly. So all of these can be threats to your competitive edge. But it's really important that you keep up with change, specifically in the industry that you work, if you're going to maintain any kind of competitive edge, especially with regards to legislation and technology, which can improve the efficiency and quality of your products and services. And of course, where are you going to find the information? Well, that networking again. You can network business and trade publications, just reading magazines, attending trade shows and conferences, subscribing to industry newsletters via the internet, reading your newspapers, Googling on the internet, going to those networking groups with people in your industry, watching your competitors, and of course learning from your colleagues as well. All good ways to keep up with change. So, in summary, within this short presentation, there should be sufficient material and information to help you answer all those questions in your assessment. That's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, as well as the written orals 3, 4, 6, and 8. Consider that when you're looking at professional development, you're considering your competencies. What are competencies? Look at your job description. What's expected of you? How good are you at that job? Well, get some feedback. Yeah, it's confronting, but ask people questions. Observe, get some observing in the workplace. Get some feedback on how well you're doing, and then use that feedback to analyze where you need to be and what skills you need to improve in order to be better at what you do or to get that promotion. And select a learning style that suits you based on your knowledge of your learning styles. Are you a pragmatist, an activist? Are you more visual? Are you auditory? Never forget the power of networking, whether it be informal or formal, to help you develop your competencies. Literally just sitting with some colleagues over a coffee can help you develop your knowledge base because you're exchanging knowledge and information. Because it's all about your competitive edge. The competitive edge, not just for you as an individual, what makes you better than the people around you, but also the competitive edge for the company that you're working for. All right. My advice would be to maybe watch this a few times. Certainly reflect on this when you're doing your assessment work, but ultimately, if you've got questions, come back to us and ask. Okay, thank you very much.